Cleveland's Municipal Stadium, the Browns and Steelers met in one of pro football's most bitter and enduring rivalries. In recent history, Pittsburgh has dominated Cleveland like they have the rest of the NFL, winning 9 of the last 10 games. 15,000 Steeler fans traveled to Cleveland, so the Browns not only had to defeat a team, but a town as well. Without the threat of injured Greg Pruitt, the Browns' running attack was a shambles, and the burden of victory rested squarely on quarterback Brian Sipes' ability to produce through the air. On the other hand, Terry Bradshaw has been without an effective ground game all season. His scenario usually reads like this: sacked, injured, replaced, returns to lead team to last-minute victory. With the Cardinals' victory over the Houston Oilers, the game assumed added importance, for the winner in this game would take command of first place in the AFC Central Division. When the Steelers wear their grizzled game faces, they look tough enough to play the sport without a helmet. And from the opening whistle, they displayed the basic brutal football that has carried them to 3 world championships. With a 3rd and 1 from the Browns' 7, Terry Bradshaw connected with number 89, tight end Benny Cunningham, for the game's initial score. Officials ruled Cunningham had fumbled after he broke the plane of the end zone. It was the first volley fired in a bombardment that resulted in an incredible 12 touchdowns by both teams. The Browns played a double zone, which placed 2 men on the Steelers' wide receivers. This strategy opened up things for Pittsburgh's tight ends and running backs. Running back Sidney Thornton's 6th touchdown of the season gave the Steelers a 14-0 lead, and is well worth reviewing for 2 reasons. First, Bradshaw enjoyed impeccable protection from his offensive line. Secondly, Thornton, number 38, smartly ran to a vacated area and beat Cleveland's All-Pro safety Tom Darden, number 27, to the ball and 6 points. Trailing by 2 touchdowns, the Browns junked their plans to establish the run and launched an all-out assault through the air. Number 47, Mel Blount, was called for interfering with wide receiver Ricky Feature, number 83. The penalty set up the Browns nicely, but Sipes' pass to Reggie Rucker sailed a fingertip too long. Down deep, the absence of swift Greg Pruitt was telling, as slow developing plays were effectively beaten back by a swarming Pittsburgh defense. Late in the first quarter, the Browns ended up without their helmets and empty of points when usually reliable Don Cockroft missed a 23-yard field goal. The denial of a certain score not only beefed up the confidence of the Steeler defense, but the offense too, as 230-pound battle tank Sidney Thornton stirred memories of a long-lost rushing attack. Facing a 3rd and 1 at the Steeler 29, the Cleveland defense massed at the scrimmage line with a goal line defense. A perfectly blocked play provided Franco Harris with a day at the races. Harris's 71-yard touchdown on the last play of the first quarter gave the Steelers a 21-0 lead, and the 8-year veteran a well-needed ego boost. For more than a season, the Steelers' running attack, led by Franco Harris, has been out to lunch. Once so brilliant and electrifying, now so dim and lifeless, Franco, at least for one day, regained his magic touch. Behind by 3 touchdowns, the Browns buried themselves in even a deeper hole. The fumble by rookie Dino Hall, number 1, was gobbled up at the 12 by Larry Anderson. The recovery offered the Steelers another opportunity to add to their landslide of points, and even yielded that rarest of sights, a smile from head coach Chuck Noll. From the 12, the end zone loomed as large as Lake Erie to Terry Bradshaw. Jim Smith's touchdown was the Steelers' 4th in less than 16 minutes and showcased the talent and touch of their swift striking offense. Another look illustrates the perfection of a play which requires a deft lob by Bradshaw and the stretched out athletic ability of a receiver like Jim Smith, number 86. Pittsburgh botched the extra point but led Cleveland 27-0 with 14 minutes remaining in the first half. Finally, the Browns began to move on the hands and feet of running back Mike Pruitt, number 43. All afternoon, Sipe tried to isolate receiver Reggie Rucker with single coverage. When he did, it was worth 6 points. Rucker, number 33, has been the Browns' most reliable receiver and most consistent deep threat for several seasons. A second angle of the score reveals that Sipe's play-action fake froze Pittsburgh long enough to free Rucker, number 33, on safety Donnie Shell, number 31. The touchdown cut the Steeler margin to 27-7. And for the remainder of the second period, the steel curtain hung on grimly as Cleveland moved the ball freely between the 20s, but could not capitalize in the clutch. Ozzie Newsome's sparkling reception placed the Browns squarely on the 1-yard line. But on the next play, Sipe was intercepted, and it appeared that the opportunistic Steelers had snatched the Browns' last opportunity to transform the rout back into a game again. However, with 2 minutes remaining in the first half, punter Johnny Evans, a quarterback in college, surprised Pittsburgh with a pass to Ricky Feature. Given one last chance, Sipe riddled the injury-depleted Steeler defense. Calvin Hill is an old hand at finding the cavities in a defense in desperate times. Tight end Ozzie Newsome is new at this game, but is learning rapidly on the run. Newsome's touchdown narrowed the lead to 27-14. But with 16 seconds to play in the half, place kicker Matt Barr padded the Steeler advantage with 3 more points. Every time the Browns seemed to mount a serious challenge, the resurgent Steelers responded in kind. This pattern would extend into a second half that would see 42 more points scored by both teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers began the second half suffering from the Chinese food scoring syndrome. It had been nearly an hour since their last touchdown, and now they were hungry for more. Terry Bradshaw went for a quick score right off the bat, and very nearly got it. The narrow miss did little to curb the Steelers' appetite. Instead, they returned to their running game, and it continued to serve them well. Sid Thornton's long burst was immediately followed by Franco Harris's second touchdown run of the day. 25 yards later, it was Steelers 37, Browns 14. All told, Harris would run for 153 yards in the game, his highest total in nearly 2 seasons. But the sudden score did not dampen the Browns' spirits. Sipe merely reloaded and came out firing, just as he had in the first half. On a crucial 4th and 14 play, the Browns decided to go for it deep in Steeler territory. Calvin Hill turned the gamble into a sure thing. A second look at the play better illustrates why Hill was so open. Pittsburgh sent most of their people in on a maximum blitz. Sipe read it correctly and got the ball to Hill, who did the rest. Cleveland now trailed 37-21 and seemed anxious to get the ball back for their hot-handed quarterback. But then they were victimized for a second time on a short yardage situation. On a 3rd and 1, the Browns bunched in to stop the certain Steeler running play. This time it was Rocky Bleier, number 20, who broke the short yardage contain. Bleier's 70-yard marathon was easily the longest run of his pro career. For the day, the Steeler backs would pile up over 360 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an 8 yards per carry average. A big chunk came from Bleier, probably the last Steeler runner you would expect to break a long one. Cleveland fortunes continued to nosedive on the next series when Sipe was intercepted by number 23 safety Mike Wagner. This time, the Browns' defense held, and then a new hero emerged. 5'7", 160-pound punt returner Dino Hall. Playing in his first pro game, the smallest man in the NFL came up with a very big play. The 47-yard return was enhanced by a Steeler penalty, putting Cleveland in excellent field position. Sipe decided to go to Calvin Hill in the left flat once again. But this time, the Steelers were ready and waiting. On 4th down, the Browns rolled the dice once again, with Sipe coming back to Hill. But even with no defenders around, Hill could not make the crucial catch for the first down. Cleveland's spirits were now sinking fast. Only 11 minutes remained in the game, and the Browns trailed 44-21. They needed a break, but so far the Steelers had played error-free football. However, that soon changed when Pittsburgh rookie runner Greg Hawthorne, number 27, made a costly fumble. Browns and Sipe wasted no time, going immediately for the score. Number 85, Dave Logan, who had not caught a pass in the first half, broke that spell with a flourish. A replay shows that Logan was able to beat Steeler coverage because he had plenty of time to run the route. The Cleveland offensive line gave quarterback Sipe near perfect pass protection. Now the Steelers and everyone else knew an onside kick was coming, but the surprise was that the ball was not booted by kicker Cockroft, but by number 24, Randy Rich, instead. Now suddenly very available for duty, wide receiver Dave Logan began a personal crusade against the Steelers as Sipe went to him on 3 consecutive plays, including Logan's second touchdown catch within a 2-minute span. Logan's amazing one-handed grab put the Browns right back in the game. His athletic ability, which had surfaced so many times already during the '79 season, had been brilliantly showcased again. Talented enough to be drafted by pro baseball and basketball teams as well, Logan decided on football as his sport on the professional level. With 9:10 remaining in the game, there were many Clevelanders who were more pleased than ever with his choice. The score now is 44-35 Pittsburgh. For the better part of the game, the Steelers had tried to shake the Browns from their tail. But just when they thought they had seen the last of those pesky Brownies, they would reappear again. The defense couldn't stop Cleveland. That much was certain. And when Pittsburgh kick returner Larry Anderson, number 30, ran into an aroused gang of Cleveland specialists, it seemed that it wouldn't be long before the Browns would have possession once again. It would take a time-consuming, well-calculated Pittsburgh drive to sew this one up. Could Terry Bradshaw and his teammates pull it off? The answer was a resounding yes. The Steelers froze the ball for over 8 minutes and pounded out 94 tough yards in the process. Bradshaw completed 3 key passes in the drive to bring the Steelers within reach of the Cleveland end zone. The Browns temporarily put a halt to the drive when they stopped Franco Harris for one of the few times in the game. But for all intents and purposes, the time-consuming march had sealed the Browns' doom. When Sid Thornton finally skipped in with his second touchdown of the game, it was pretty much a ceremonial gesture. In a wild one, the Steelers had prevailed 51-35. In all-purpose yards accumulated, the two teams combined for a total of over 1,300 yards gained. When two division rivals play for first place, the hallmark of such a game is usually tight defense. That element was most distinctly absent in this affair, and in the end it was Pittsburgh's ability to hold on to the ball that provided the best defense of the day. The Steelers are now alone at the top of the AFC Central, but these two teams meet again in November in Pittsburgh. When the fans come out for that one, they might want to bring along blanket, thermos, and a high-powered pocket calculator.